Imagine walking into a quiet room after a long day. No voices, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. Imagine feeling more peaceful in silence than in conversation. Imagine being surrounded by people, yet feeling more connected when you're alone. Why do some people, especially the strongest ones, feel this way? Why do they seem to pull away from the crowd and choose the company of their own mind? Why do they find comfort in quiet moments instead of social gatherings? Take the example of a retired teacher. For years, she gave her heart to others, students, family, friends. But now, she enjoys long walks alone, quiet mornings with tea, and evenings spent reading or watching the sky. She's not sad. She's not lonely. She has simply found peace in her own presence. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore deep truths about life through the calm lens of Buddhist wisdom. If you've ever wondered why some of the strongest souls seem to stand alone, this series is for you. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. It only takes a second, but it means the world to us. And please, drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your reflections and stories. You see, the strongest people are not loud. They do not always lead the crowd or seek attention. Their strength comes from a different place, one that is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted within. Buddhism teaches that this kind of strength is born from mindfulness, self-awareness, and the ability to be fully present. In a world that constantly tells us to connect, follow, and stay busy, choosing to be alone is often misunderstood. But those who walk the solitary path do so not because they are broken, but because they are whole. Solitude gives them space to grow, reflect, and understand themselves better. Buddhism doesn't see being alone as a weakness. In fact, many of the Buddha's teachings were given in quiet forests, away from the noise. He encouraged his followers to spend time in solitude to hear the truth inside their own hearts. So, if you find yourself enjoying your own company, don't doubt it. You're not withdrawing, you're awakening. In the next parts, we'll explore how solitude nurtures strength, the difference between aloneness and loneliness, and why choosing stillness is one of the boldest things a person can do. The noise within us is often louder than the noise around us. Many people search for peace in the world, through their jobs, their relationships, or distractions, but find only more restlessness. Yet, the strongest people, the ones who truly understand themselves, know that peace is not something outside to be found. It is a quiet place inside. In the teaching of the Buddha, the first step toward this peace is awareness, mindfulness. To be mindful means to truly see what is happening, not only around us, but within us. When the mind is restless, when thoughts rush like a wild river, it becomes difficult to hear the stillness beneath. But when we pause, even for a moment, and simply watch our breath or observe the feelings in our body, the river slows. The noise softens. This is why the strongest people prefer solitude. In the quiet, they can listen, not just to the sounds of the world, but to the whispers of their own heart. They learn to observe without judgment. They watch their thoughts come and go like clouds passing through the sky. They do not fight the clouds, nor do they try to hold on to them. They simply see them. Imagine the mind as a vast sky. The clouds are the thoughts, sometimes dark and heavy with worry, sometimes light and playful. The sky itself, the true self, is always clear, always free. Solitude helps us return to that sky. It reminds us that who we truly are is not the passing thoughts, but the open space that holds them. Many people fear being alone because the noise in their mind becomes too loud. They do not know how to sit quietly with themselves. But the strongest have learned the art of stillness. They have embraced silence not as emptiness, but as fullness. In silence, they find strength. In stillness, they find clarity. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a garden. If it is neglected, weeds of fear, anger, and sadness grow wild. But when tended with care, through mindfulness and compassion, the garden blooms with peace and understanding. Being alone is the time we water this garden. It is the moment we pull the weeds. This does not mean the strong do not care for others. On the contrary, Solitude allows them to be more present when they do connect. They are not drained by constant noise or social demands because they have replenished themselves. They do not need approval or validation because their strength is born from within. In the Buddhist time, monks often retreated into forests, caves, or mountains. They sought solitude not to escape the world, but to discover their true nature. They sat in meditation, facing their own minds without distraction. In doing so, they found a calm that was unshakable, a joy that did not depend on circumstances. This inner peace is not the absence of problems. Life will always bring challenges, but the strongest people have a different relationship with difficulty. They meet it with calm awareness, without being swept away by fear or anger. Solitude trains them to hold their center like a tree rooted deep in the earth, standing firm through every storm. You might wonder, then, if solitude is the path to strength, why is it so rare? The world often values being loud, busy, and always connected. It tells us that we must prove ourselves through constant activity in social success. But the Buddha reminds us that true strength comes from knowing when to stop, when to turn inward, and when to simply be. It is not easy to be alone with yourself. It requires courage. It requires patience. It requires trust that the silence will not overwhelm you, but will heal you. The strongest people have walked this path many times. They have faced their own shadows and found light there. They have learned that solitude is not a punishment, but a gift. When we choose to be alone, we are not rejecting the world. We are preparing ourselves to engage with it more fully. Like a deep lake, the mind must be still on the surface before it can reflect the stars clearly. The strongest people know this truth. They honor their solitude as a sacred time of renewal. In solitude, distractions fall away. There is no need to pretend or perform. The masks come off. What remains is the true self. Vulnerable, imperfect, yet deeply strong. This strength is quiet, humble, and enduring. It is the strength of one who has seen the transient nature of life and still chooses to walk with compassion and wisdom. Buddhist teachings speak often of impermanence. Everything changes, our bodies, our thoughts, our feelings. When we embrace solitude, we see this impermanence more clearly. We learn not to cling to what is fleeting, but to rest in what is eternal, the stillness beneath the changing waves. The strongest people do not fear loneliness because they know the difference between loneliness and being alone. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness or separation. Being alone is a choice to be with oneself, fully and deeply. It is a chance to reconnect with our true nature, to listen to our inner voice without interruption. When the mind is quiet, we hear our deepest wisdom. We see the patterns of our thoughts and habits. We understand the roots of our suffering and the seeds of our joy. This understanding comes slowly, like the dawn breaking over a dark sky. It cannot be rushed or forced. So, solitude is not about isolation, but about connection. Connection with ourselves and with life. It is the soil from which compassion grows. The strongest people know that before they can fully give to others, they must first give to themselves the gift of presence. This is the silent power of solitude. It does not shout or demand attention. It does not seek approval. It simply is steady, calm, and wise. In this stillness, the strongest find their strength, and in their strength, they find freedom. The practice of mindfulness, taught by the Buddha, helps us walk this path. Each breath is a step back into the present moment. Each moment of awareness is a return home to ourselves. The strongest people cultivate this habit, not because it is easy, but because it is true. Remember, the next time you feel the urge to run from silence or fill every moment with noise, that the strongest people have chosen differently. They have learned that true strength is not in what we do, but in who we are when we are still. They teach us that peace is not a place to reach, but a presence to live. And that presence can only be found when we dare to be alone. Imagine a path stretching ahead, quiet and calm. No crowds, no noise, just you and the road beneath your feet. This path may seem lonely to some, but for those who choose it, it is the way to true strength. The Buddha walked alone often. He sat beneath the Bodhi tree, in silence, away from the city's chatter. He sought not the approval of others, but the peace inside himself. This is the path of the strong, the path of those who understand that true power comes not from the outside, but from within. Walking alone is not a sign of weakness. It is the sign of one who has learned to stand firm on their own feet. It is the way of a person who has looked deeply into the nature of life and realized that attachments and distractions only weigh the spirit down. When a strong person chooses solitude, it is not because they dislike others. It is because they have found that the constant noise of the world can drown the quiet voice of the soul. They seek silence so they can hear that voice clearly. In Buddhism, walking alone is often a metaphor for the spiritual journey. Each person must walk their own path at their own pace. No one else can do it for you. You may travel beside others for a while, but ultimately, the journey is yours alone. This idea can be difficult to accept. Human beings are social creatures. We are born into families, live in communities, and need others to survive. But strength grows when we learn to be comfortable with ourselves, even when we are alone. Solitude is a teacher. It shows us who we really are beneath the roles we play for others. When you are alone, you cannot hide. You face your true self, your fears, your desires, your doubts. And in this honest meeting, strength is born. There's a story in Zen about a monk who sat in meditation every day, alone on a mountain. One day, a young disciple asked him, "Why do you stay here by yourself? Do you not feel lonely?" The monk smiled and said, "I am never lonely because I am always with myself. I am my own best companion." This teaching reminds us that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness, a longing for connection that is unmet. Aloneness is a state of presence, being fully with yourself, without distraction or fear. The strongest people have learned to cherish this aloneness. They have discovered that the mind can become calm and clear in solitude, like a still pond reflecting the sky. In this calm, wisdom arises. Sometimes, people ask why the strongest among us don't seek the crowd. The answer is simple. The crowd is often restless, noisy, and filled with expectations. When you are strong, you no longer need constant validation from others. You find your value inside. In Buddhist thought, this is called self-reliance. It does not mean being isolated or cold. It means depending on your own inner strength, your own understanding. It means knowing that your peace is not given by others, but is something you carry inside you. Walking alone also means being free. Free from the judgments of others. Free from the pressure to conform. Free to listen to your own heart. This freedom is a gift, but it requires courage. Courage to face the unknown. Courage to stand apart when it is easier to follow. Courage to accept silence, even when the world offers noise. The Buddha said that the spiritual path is like walking on a razor's edge. It requires balance and attention. The crowd often walks on the wide road of distraction, but the strong choose the narrow path, sometimes walked alone. This path is not easy. It asks us to look deeply at ourselves, to see our attachments, our fears, and our illusions, to let go of what no longer serves us, to find the light that shines inside, no matter how dark the world outside becomes. When you walk alone, you learn to trust yourself. You learn that you can be your own guide. This trust is a source of great strength. It protects you from the storms of life. In solitude, the mind is free to rest and heal. When we're always surrounded by others, our thoughts can become tangled like a knot. But when we sit quietly, we can untie these knots and see clearly. This clarity is the beginning of true wisdom. It helps us understand who we are and what really matters. It allows us to live with kindness, not only to others, but to ourselves. Strong people also know the value of compassion in solitude. They do not turn away from others because they lack love. They choose to be alone so they can refill their hearts with peace and kindness. Buddhism teaches that when we are strong inside, we can help others better. Like a well that is full of water, we can share without becoming empty. But if we never take time to fill ourselves, we will dry up. Walking alone is like filling the well. It is a sacred time to rest, reflect, and grow. It is the foundation for any true strength we show in the world. The strongest people understand as well. They do not fear solitude. They embrace it as a part of their journey. If you feel drawn to solitude, listen to that call. Is your spirit asking for space to breathe? Do not be afraid to walk your path alone, with courage and trust. Remember, walking alone does not mean walking forever without others. It means walking with yourself first, so that when others join your journey, you walk from a place of wholeness, not need. The path of the strong is quiet and steady. It is a path of mindfulness, being fully present in each moment, whether alone or with others. So, if you see someone who prefers to be alone, do not judge them. Know that they may be walking the razor's edge, balancing their strength in silence. In this silence, they find freedom. In this freedom, they find peace. And in this peace, they become truly strong. In the quiet moments of life, when the world grows still and the noise fades away, a question arises. What is the difference between being alone and being lonely? Many think these words mean the same, but in truth, they are as different as night and day. Being alone is a space, a place where the mind can rest and the heart can breathe. It is the gentle pause between the sounds, the calm within the storm. To be alone is not to be empty, but to be full in a different way. It is the presence of oneself, without distraction, without the need to fill the silence with words or company. Loneliness, however, is a different state. It is a feeling often heavy and dark, where the soul feels separated and lost. Loneliness carries a longing, a desire for connection that feels out of reach. It is the ache of absence, the shadow cast by disconnection. The strongest people understand this difference deeply. They do not confuse the silence they seek with the loneliness others fear. Their solitude is chosen, embraced, and treasured. It is not a punishment or a sign of weakness, but a refuge and a source of power. In the teachings of Buddhism, the idea of solitude is not about isolation, but about connection. Connection with the self, with the present moment, with the truth that lies beneath the surface of all things. The Buddha often retreated into the forest, away from the crowds, not because he wished to hide, but because he wished to see clearly. When the mind is still, like a calm lake, it reflects the sky and the trees with perfect clarity. But when the water is stirred by wind and waves, the reflection becomes distorted. Solitude calms the mind. It allows the inner lake to settle, revealing the true nature of who we are. Many people fear being alone because their minds tell stories of loneliness, fear, and lack. They believe that to be alone means to be forgotten, unwanted, or incomplete. But this is a story, not a truth. The truth is, solitude can be a gateway to freedom. It frees us from a need to seek approval or validation from others. It frees us from the distractions that pull us away from our own path. And it frees us to discover the beauty and strength that already exist inside. Consider a tree standing tall in a forest. It does not need the presence of many trees to be strong. Its strength comes from deep roots, from the soil beneath, and from the quiet growth over time. Alone, it faces the sun, the rain, and the wind. It endures, it grows, it becomes. So too, the strongest people grow in solitude. They learn to listen to their own hearts, to understand their own fears and hopes. In the silence, they find wisdom that no crowd can give. They find courage that does not depend on others. There's also a sacred rhythm to being alone. It allows the mind to slow down, to observe the small details of life often missed in busy company. The way sunlight filters through leaves, the sound of breath, the beating of the heart. These simple moments become precious teachers. Loneliness, on the other hand, often arises when we resist solitude or when we are cut off from meaningful connection. It could be a signal that something important is missing, a sign to seek compassion, either from others or from ourselves. The wise do not deny loneliness when it comes. They recognize it, sit with it, and allow it to pass like a passing cloud. They know that loneliness is not a permanent state, but a visitor. And they do not fear the arrival of aloneness, for it is their home. This understanding changes the way we see the world. We stop blaming ourselves for feeling lonely. We stop fearing solitude. Instead, we welcome it as a teacher, a friend, a guide. The strongest people do not run from themselves. They do not hide behind noise or distraction. They face their own company with openness and kindness. This is true strength, knowing that we are enough, even when no one else is near. It is said in Zen that when you sit alone, you sit with the universe. Your solitude is not separation, but unity. You are part of the vast whole, and yet you have a place all your own. To be alone is to touch the depth of being. To be lonely is to miss that connection. The difference lies in how we meet ourselves, in judgment or in acceptance, in fear or in love. So, the next time you find yourself alone, do not rush to fill the silence. Sit with it. Breathe. Notice the rhythm of your heart. Allow the mind to become still. In that stillness, the strongest part of you awaits, quiet, steady, and whole. In solitude, the strongest people become who they truly are, free from the masks they wear for the world. They become clear like the morning sky after a storm, calm like a deep river flowing through the valley. This is the wisdom beyond the surface. Aloneness is a choice, a sanctuary, a path to self-mastery. Loneliness is a feeling, a moment of discomfort that can lead us back to connection with others and with ourselves. The journey to understanding this is not always easy. It requires patience and gentle care. It requires letting go of old fears and stories and embracing the present as it is. Yet, those who walk this path find a peace that surpasses all understanding. They discover that being alone does not mean being empty. It means being full, full of life, full of love, full of quiet strength. And this strength, born in silence, shines brighter than any noise. It is a light that guides the way, not just for themselves, but for others who are searching. To choose solitude is not to turn away from the world. It is to return to the true home within. It is the courage to stand quietly and firmly in your own truth. This is the path of the strongest people, not the path of noise and crowd, but the path of stillness and self-knowledge. It is the path that leads to freedom, to peace, and to the deepest joy. May you find the courage to walk this path with grace. May you learn to cherish your own company and see the strength that lies in the quiet spaces of your life. For in those spaces, the greatest power is born, the power of knowing who you truly are. The strongest people often seek stillness, not because they want to escape, but because they understand something few others do. In stillness, true strength is born. Imagine a vast lake. When the water is calm, it reflects the sky perfectly. But when the wind stirs it, the reflection becomes broken, unclear, and chaotic. So it is with the mind. When restless and noisy, we cannot see clearly. When still, clarity comes. In the tradition of Zen, silence and stillness are not emptiness. They are full of life and deep power. Many years ago, when I first sat under the Bodhi tree, I realized that sitting quietly, simply being present, is not doing nothing. It is doing everything. It is where the strongest roots grow. To be still is to stop running from ourselves. It is to sit quietly with all our thoughts, fears, and hopes. In this quiet space, the strongest people face their true nature without disguise or armor. They see what is real and what is not. They learn to accept both their light and shadow. Meditation, the practice of sitting quietly and focusing the mind, is a tool that reveals this strength. It is not magic. It is simply training. The strongest people train their minds to come back to stillness over and over again, no matter what storms rage outside. You may think strength is shown in action, in loud words or great battles. But the strongest strength is in patience, in waiting, in listening to the silent wisdom within. This is why the strongest people often prefer to be alone. They are not lonely. They are busy tending the garden of their inner world. Many come to meditation seeking peace from their problems. But true peace comes when we stop pushing problems away and instead face them in stillness. The mind settles like the surface of that lake, and the answers come naturally. This is why strong people cherish their moments alone, because they are moments to connect deeply with themselves. In stillness, the mind learns to observe without judgment. When emotions rise like waves, the strong mind watches them pass without getting swept away. This is a power beyond muscles or wealth. It is a strength of heart and spirit. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving and attachment. In stillness, strong people learn to let go of these cravings. They see that holding on tightly only causes pain. Letting go, like a tree shedding its leaves in autumn, brings freedom and strength. One day, a young student asked me, "Master, how can I become strong like you?" I smiled and said, "Sit quietly. Listen to your breath. Face your thoughts like a friend. Strength grows there, not outside." The strongest people understand that the world will always have noise, distraction, and chaos. But they choose stillness because it is the only place where they can be fully themselves. It is in that space that their true power shines. Imagine a warrior on a battlefield. Most think strength is in the sword or the shield. But the greatest warrior is the one who is calm in the storm, who does not lose himself in anger or fear. That calm comes from stillness, practiced long before the battle. Strong people know their limits. They rest when needed. They don't seek to prove themselves constantly to others. Instead, they find validation in their quiet moments alone, where they reconnect with their inner strength. Stillness is also a form of resistance against a world that values speed and noise. The strong resist rushing, resisting constant distraction. They understand that moving too fast scatters energy, weakens focus, and dims the light inside. When strong people meditate or sit quietly, they are not running away. They are preparing. They are gathering strength to face life's challenges with a clear mind and open heart. In this way, solitude and stillness become a powerful source of courage. It is the courage to be oneself fully, without masks or pretenses. It is the courage to face fears and doubts and still choose peace. The ancient Zen masters often said, "When a mind is still, the universe speaks." This means that in quiet moments, the truth about life and self reveals itself naturally. The strongest people listen deeply to this truth. In stillness, compassion grows too. Without the noise of judgment or fear, the heart softens. The strongest people often have the kindest hearts because they have learned to be gentle with themselves first. The power of stillness is not limited to meditation alone. It shows in simple daily acts: the quiet smile, the patient breath, the calm response to anger. These small moments reflect a deep inner strength born from stillness. Sometimes, people mistake strong people for cold or distant because they choose solitude. But this is not true. Their strength in stillness allows them to love deeply, without clinging or losing themselves. The practice of stillness is not always easy. The mind resists quiet. It fears what might find. But the strongest people persist, knowing that each moment of stillness brings them closer to freedom. Over time, the habit of stillness changes the way the strong move through the world. They become less reactive, more present. Their strength is quiet but undeniable. Strong people also understand impermanence, the truth that everything changes. In stillness, they see that clinging to people, things, or ideas only causes suffering. They learn to flow with life instead of fighting it. In the stillness of meditation, the strongest people experience the unity of all things. They realize that being alone does not mean being separate. They find connection to the whole universe in their solitude. The power of stillness teaches patience. Life's challenges do not break the strong. They wait, breathe, and respond wisely. This patience is a strength few possess. Strong people also learn to forgive. In stillness, they release bitterness and anger. Forgiveness frees the heart. It makes room for peace and strength to grow. In quiet moments, the strong reflect on their actions and thoughts. This self-awareness is the foundation of growth and wisdom. They become their own best teacher. Stillness offers a sanctuary where the strongest people can heal. It is where wounds mend, where courage is renewed, and where the spirit finds rest. The world may never understand why the strongest prefer to be alone. But those who walk the path know, stillness is not emptiness. It is the deepest source of power. When life becomes overwhelming, the strong return to stillness. Like a tree bending in the wind, but never breaking, they find strength in flexibility and calm. To be truly strong is to be present, peaceful, and grounded in the face of life's storms. And this strength lives in the quiet moments alone. The practice of stillness is a lifelong journey. It asks for patience, kindness to oneself, and courage. The strongest people embrace it fully. In the end, the strongest people prefer to be alone, not out of fear or sadness, but because in stillness they find their true home. The strongest people, those who have traveled far on the path of life, often come to understand a profound truth. They learn to let go, not because they are weak, but because they are wise beyond the clamor of the world. In the stillness of their solitude, they discover a freedom that many never taste. In Buddhism, letting go is not about losing something precious. It is about freeing oneself from the chains that bind the heart and mind. It means releasing attachments, those cravings and clinging desires that cause suffering. The strong know that holding on too tightly only brings pain. Imagine holding a cup of water tightly in your hand. At first, you think you're protecting it, keeping it safe. But the tighter your grip, the more likely the water will spill. Letting go does not mean dropping the cup carelessly. It means loosening your hand enough to keep the cup balanced, to allow the water to flow naturally without struggle. The world around us asks us to hold on to opinions, to grudges, to fear, to anger. But those who choose solitude learn to loosen their grip. They let go of what does not serve their peace. They release the need to control others or to force outcomes. In this way, letting go is not passive. It is a powerful act of courage. It takes strength to look within and see what is causing suffering, then to gently but firmly release it. This is the strength that many mistake for loneliness or coldness. But in truth, is a deep and radiant strength. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment. When we crave things or try to hold on to people, experiences, or ideas, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The strongest people understand this and therefore choose to let go. They do not run away from life. Instead, they face it fully, aware that clinging only makes the journey heavier. They choose to be like the river, flowing freely, adapting to the land, letting go of obstacles with ease. Solitude becomes their teacher. In quiet moments, they see clearly what no one else can. They understand that attachment is not love. True love is free from grasping, free from expectations. Letting go also means forgiving, not just others but themselves. The strongest people carry their scars with honor, but they do not let those scars harden their hearts. They forgive their own mistakes and embrace the imperfections that make them human. This act of forgiveness opens space inside, a space where healing begins. It softens the edges of pain and opens the door to compassion. In their solitude, strong people cultivate this compassion, not only for others but for themselves. The path of letting go is not easy. It requires patience and mindfulness. It requires sitting with discomfort without fleeing. It asks for courage to face the unknown inside. But those who walk this path find a peace that the noise of the world cannot offer. The strong who let go do not do so to isolate themselves in sadness. Instead, they create a sanctuary inside, a place of calm, clarity, and strength. From this sanctuary, They can return to the world when they choose, ready to act with wisdom rather than reaction. They know that holding on tightly to past hurts, regrets, or even ambitions can cloud their vision. So they practice daily the art of releasing. A thought comes, observe it, then let it pass like a cloud in the sky. They understand the nature of impermanence, the constant change in life. Nothing stays the same, no matter how much we want it to. Accepting this truth allows them to release attachments naturally, without struggle. When the strong let go, they are not weak. They are the mountain that does not move in the storm, the tree that bends with the wind but does not break. Their strength is flexible, alive, and free. Their solitude is not emptiness. It is fullness, a fullness born of clarity and peace. They know themselves deeply and do not fear being alone with their thoughts. This is the power of letting go. They also understand that sometimes letting go means saying no. Saying no to relationships, habits, or situations that no longer nourish their spirit. It means choosing silence over empty words, choosing peace over conflict. This choice often surprises others. People may wonder why the strongest choose to walk alone, but the strong do not seek approval or company to prove their worth. They are content within. The Buddha's life itself was an example of letting go. He left behind his royal palace, his family, and his past to seek truth. This radical letting go led him to enlightenment. In the same way, strong people today shed what weighs them down. They carry only what serves their growth, their values, their mindfulness, their compassion. This process is ongoing. Letting go is not a one-time event, but a daily practice. Every moment offers a chance to release fear, anger, or attachment and to choose freedom instead. Strong people do not fear solitude because they have found their own company sufficient. They do not depend on external approval or validation. Their strength is self-sustained. Through letting go, they become more than just strong. They become free. Free from the invisible chains that bind so many to suffering. In this freedom, they find joy, not loud or flashy, but quiet and deep. It is the joy of being at peace with oneself and the world. Their solitude is a gift, a sacred space where strength grows quietly like a bamboo grove, bending but never breaking. To let go is to trust the flow of life. It is to accept that some things must fall away for new growth to happen. The strongest do not cling to pain or to pride. They choose to release, to heal, and to become whole again. In this way, the act of letting go is the highest expression of strength, the strength born not of force, but of wisdom and love. The wise know, to hold on too tightly is to suffer. To let go is to live fully. Compassion without attachment, the Buddhist way of being alone. Listen carefully, my friend. In this quiet moment, let us speak about something that many misunderstand. You see, compassion is not just about being close to others. True compassion can live in solitude. It can be deep, gentle, and wide like the ocean, even when one stands alone. Many people think that to care for others, they must always be near them. They believe that love means constant presence, that helping means doing things for someone all the time. But in truth, the heart that is free is the heart that loves without needing to hold on. Imagine a tree in the forest. Its branches spread wide, giving shade and shelter to birds, insects, and travelers. Yet, the tree does not cling to the birds. It does not trap the insects. It lets them come and go as they please. The tree's kindness is quiet, steady, and without expectation. This is how the strongest people practice compassion. They care deeply, but they do not tie themselves down with attachment. They understand that clinging to people, ideas, or feelings only leads to suffering. To love freely is to let go. In the teachings of the Buddha, attachment is called tanha, craving, grasping, the desire to hold on. It is this grasping that clouds the mind and burdens the heart. When we cling too tightly to others, we lose our own peace. We suffer, and often those we try to hold close suffer as well. But compassion without attachment is different. It is like the sky. vast and open. It welcomes all clouds, storms, and sunshine without judgment. It holds everything with kindness, but does not grasp or possess. The strongest people have learned this. They practice being alone, not to shut others out, but to free their hearts. They create space within themselves where love can grow pure and unburdened. From that space, their compassion flows naturally and effortlessly. You may wonder, how can someone be compassionate if they choose solitude? Is not being with others necessary to help and care? The answer is yes and no. It is true that sometimes we need to act, to listen, to support. But true compassion comes first from understanding one's own heart deeply. In solitude, one meets the self fully. One sees the pain, the joy, the fears, and the hopes. With this understanding, compassion grows strong like a mountain. It is not weak or fragile. It is not dependent on conditions. It is free. This freedom allows the strongest people to give love without expectation. They do not expect gratitude, return, or even recognition. Their compassion is a gift offered simply because it is natural. It is the expression of their own peace. Sometimes this means standing apart from the crowd, not out of pride or fear, but out of wisdom. They know that being constantly surrounded by noise and chaos can dim the light within. So they step back to recharge, to reflect, and to care more deeply. In Buddhism, the Bodhisattva ideal teaches us to help all beings, but also to walk a path of wisdom. This wisdom includes knowing when to be present and when to be still, when to speak and when to listen in silence. Solitude is not emptiness. It is full of life and love. It is the quiet river that flows beneath the surface, nourishing the roots of compassion. Without this quiet depth, our love can be shallow and fleeting. Think of a candle. If you cover with a jar, the flame will go out. But if you let the flame breathe and have space, it will shine bright and warm. In the same way, compassion needs room to breathe, room that solitude can provide. The strongest people understand that to love well, they must first love themselves without grasping. They practice kindness to their own hearts. This is not selfishness, but the foundation of true compassion. When the heart is peaceful and free, it can open fully to others. It can offer help without losing itself. It can give without asking. It can be present without clinging. This is the Buddhist way of being alone. Not lonely, not cold, but full of a warm, steady kindness that flows naturally from a heart at ease. So do not fear solitude. See it as a garden where compassion grows. Tend to it gently. Allow yourself to be quiet, to listen, to be with your own heart. In that silence, you will find a love that does not bind, a strength that does not demand, a peace that does not fade. And from this place, your compassion will touch the world, not by force, but by the quiet power of a heart truly free. The inner flame, cultivating spiritual strength in solitude. Come, sit with me. Let's be quiet for a while. No need to rush. No need to speak. Just sit. Breathe gently. Do you feel it? That small warmth inside you. That gentle presence when everything else goes still. That is your inner flame. It does not shout. It does not demand. But is always there. And when you're alone, truly alone, it begins to grow. Strong people often walk alone, not because they are proud or cold, but because they have learned to sit beside that flame. It is a silent companion. It brings peace. It brings truth. In the noise of the world, this flame gets covered, buried under voices, opinions, pressure. But in solitude, it rises like incense in the air. You may ask, but Master, what is this inner flame? It is your wisdom, your stillness, your heart that has lived and learned. It is the part of you that watches everything without panic, that holds sadness without drowning in it, that sees beauty in the cracks of life. This flame is not made of fire. It is made of attention. And attention comes when you stop running from yourself. People who are strong have not avoided pain. No, they have faced it, sat with it, held it in their hands like something sacred. In the silence of their own heart, they have asked, what am I to learn from this? And over time, the answer came, not in words but in calm, in understanding, in peace. You do not need to go to the mountains to find solitude. You can find it here, right now, when you turn off the noise, when you stop chasing the next thing, when you sit quietly and look into your own heart without judgment. That is where strength grows. That is where the flame burns steady. People fear solitude because they think it means being alone forever. But that is not what solitude is. Solitude is not loneliness. It is choosing to be with yourself, as you are, without needing anything else. It is a deep trust in your own presence. And in that trust, strength begins to form. Not the strength to lift heavy things or speak loudly, but the strength to walk through life with soft eyes and a steady soul. You see, my friend, even the tree grows alone in silence. Its roots go deep, but no one sees them. The wind bends it, the sun warms it, the seasons change it, but it does not rush. It does not compare itself to the tree beside it. It just grows, slowly, quietly, with grace. That is how your inner flame grows too. When you are alone, you hear things that are lost in the crowd. The sound of your breath, the beat of your heart, the way your thoughts wander. At first, this can be uncomfortable. You may notice old pain, buried memories, voices of doubt. Do not run. Sit with them. They are not your enemies. They are your teachers. Strong people are not born strong. They become strong by listening to these teachers. They become strong by not turning away. They light their inner flame by accepting what is hard to accept, by saying, yes, this is also part of me. And when they do that, something shifts. Pain becomes understanding. Loneliness becomes depth. Silence becomes music. Have you ever noticed how a candle lights another without losing its own flame? This is what happens when your inner light grows. You do not have to fight the world. You only have to stay lit. Your calm becomes comfort for others. Your stillness becomes a mirror. People may not understand your solitude, but they feel your peace. They feel your presence. And sometimes that is more powerful than 1,000 words. Solitude is not escape. It is return. Return to the self. Return to the breath. Return to what matters. You do not lose anything by being alone. You gain clarity. You hear your own truth. You stop pretending. You stop performing. You just become who you really are. This is why the strongest people prefer to be alone. Because in that quiet space, they find their true face. Not the one shaped by roles or duty, but the one that watches the clouds pass and says, this is enough. In the world, we are always trying to become someone. In solitude, we remember that we already are. Buddhism teaches that the self is not a fixed thing. It is flowing, changing like water in a river. When you sit alone, you begin to see this. You watch your thoughts come and go. You watch your moods rise and fall. And in that watching, a gap opens. A sacred pause. That pause is where the flame lives. People spend their lives running from sadness, from fear, from the ache of being human. But the strong do not run. They turn around and face it. And in doing so, they find peace. Not because life became easy, but because they stopped needing it to be. Solitude gives you space to stop needing, to stop pretending, to stop grasping. It brings you back to what is simple, the breath, the body, the moment. And in that simplicity, you feel something holy. You feel connected, not to noise or people or screens, but to life itself. Sometimes, in silence, you will cry. That is all right. Let it flow. Sometimes you will laugh. That too is good. Sometimes you will feel nothing. That is part of the path. What matters is that you are there, that you are not avoiding your own heart. The inner flame is not built in a day. It takes time. It takes patience. But every quiet moment adds to it. Every breath taken in awareness feeds it. Every choice to sit with your truth rather than run from it makes it stronger. So, do not fear being alone. Do not fear the quiet path. Do not fear your own company. There is power in it. There is healing in it. There is wisdom that cannot be spoken, only felt. And when that wisdom touches your heart, you will know. This is why the strongest people walk alone. Not because they are bitter, but because they are free. Come, let's be still once more. Let the silence speak. Let the flame burn steady. This is where strength is born. This is where the journey continues. Why the wise choose less company. Sit with me for a while in this quiet space. Let us speak slowly. Let the world carry on without us for a little while. There is something I wish to share with you, not from books, but from a stillness I've walked with over many years. Have you ever noticed how the wise ones, those who carry peace in their eyes and calm in their voice, are often found alone or with only a few people near them? It is not that they dislike others. It is not that they are cold or distant. In truth, it is quite the opposite. The wise understand the weight of words, the noise of crowds, and the energy that flows between people. They know that every meeting leaves a trace. Every voice, every opinion, every presence, each brings its own energy. Some of it lifts, some of it pulls. So the wise choose carefully, not out of pride, but out of deep understanding. In this world, many gather crowds to feel important. Many speak often, fearing silence. But the wise are not afraid of silence. They live inside it. They trust it, because silence never lies. It never rushes. It simply is. When you sit alone under a tree, or listen to the rain tapping against your window, you begin to hear things you never noticed before. The beating of your own heart, the thoughts you've been avoiding, the still voice inside you. This is why the wise pull away from too much company. They value this inner space. It is in this quiet that truth begins to bloom. I have met people who have spent their whole lives running from loneliness, filling their time with noise, chasing approval. And I have met others who, without fear, sit quietly with their own presence. These are the ones who grow deep roots. They do not sway with every wind. They do not panic when left alone. Their strength comes from within, not from the praise of others. A wise person may have friends, yes, but they are few and true. The wise don't seek quantity. They seek sincerity. They would rather walk with one soul who understands silence than 10 who speak without meaning. In Buddhist practice, there is something beautiful called noble silence. It is not just the absence of talking. It is the presence of mindfulness. It is the space where wisdom breathes. Monks often observe this silence during meditation or even during daily tasks. It helps them remain centered, undisturbed by outer waves. Now, this doesn't mean the wise never laugh or never join gathering. They do, but they enter with awareness and they leave without clinging. They do not seek to impress, nor to be impressed. They come with open hands and leave with a full heart, but they never try to hold too tightly. A Zen saying goes, sit quietly, doing nothing. Spring comes, and the grass grows by itself. The wise live by this truth. They know they do not need to chase things. What is meant will come. What is not meant will pass. So they walk slowly, speak softly, and listen deeply. Many people confuse being alone with being lonely, but the two are not the same. Loneliness is when you want someone and they are not there. Aloneness is when you are enough, even when no one else is near. The wise choose aloneness, not out of sadness, but out of clarity. They have met themselves, and they are not afraid. In Buddhist stories, even great kings would leave their palaces to spend time in the forest. The Buddha himself walked alone under the Bodhi tree. He did not become enlightened in a crowd. He sat in silence, facing his fears, watching his thoughts, breathing with the earth. That is where he awakened. So when people ask me, Master, why do you not go out often? Why do you sit alone? I smile. I do not sit alone. I sit with the wind, the trees, the clouds. I sit with the lessons life has given me. I sit with the joy of nothing needing to be done. That is not loneliness. That is fullness. We live in a time when many are afraid of being alone. They fill every space with music, voices, scrolling screens. But still their hearts feel tired. Why? Because the noise outside keeps them from hearing what's within. The wise turn the volume down. They listen inward. They rest their tired spirits in silence, like dipping their hands in a cool water. And yet, when the wise speak, their words carry weight. Because they do not speak often. They have no need to prove themselves. They speak only when it adds value, and they speak from experience, not theory. This is why their presence is calming. They do not try to change you. They simply are, and in their being, you feel something shift. Some people collect things, followers, achievements, noise. The wise collect moments, sunlight on leaves, the sound of distant bells, the feeling of stillness in their chest. These things cannot be posted or praised, but they nourish the soul. And so, if you find yourself walking alone more often now, if you find comfort in your own presence, if large gatherings exhaust you, and silence soothes you, perhaps you are growing wise too. Perhaps you are beginning to understand what the world often forgets, that peace is not found in people. It is brought to people from within. There is no need to fear this path. You are not strange for wanting less noise. You are not broken for needing space. You are simply returning to your true nature. Even rivers, as powerful as they are, must flow quietly to reach the sea. Let others chase. Let others shout. You stay still. Listen. Let the world soften. Let the silence speak. For in that gentle space, the wise have always found their home. And maybe now you are too. Imagine a strong tree standing tall on a quiet mountain. It faces fierce winds and heavy rains alone. Yet, it does not break or bend beyond its limits. Its roots run deep beneath the earth, holding it steady through every storm. Like that tree, the strongest people often choose to stand alone. Not because they lack company, but because their strength is deeply rooted within themselves. Strength is often mistaken for loudness or being surrounded by many people. But true strength is silent. It does not seek attention or approval. It is a quiet power that holds space for vulnerability and peace. The strongest people are not cold or distant. Rather, they're deeply connected to their own feelings and to the world around them, but in a way that is calm and steady. To be alone does not mean to be empty. On the contrary, it means to be full of self-understanding, full of acceptance, full of compassion. When strong people spend time alone, they're not lonely. They're simply giving themselves a chance to rest from the noise of life, to listen to the gentle voice within. In Buddhist teaching, the heart is like a still pond. When the surface is calm, we can see clearly to the bottom. But when the water is troubled, everything becomes muddy and unclear. The strongest people work patiently to calm their own minds. They learn to sit quietly with themselves, without rushing or distracting. They discover that in stillness, they find clarity, healing, and peace. This stillness allows them to feel deeply. They know what it means to suffer, to love, and to lose. They have faced their own pain without turning away. And in doing so, they have built a kind of strength that is not brittle, but flexible, like bamboo that bends but does not break. Many people fear solitude because it brings up feelings that are uncomfortable, fear, sadness, or emptiness. But the strongest understand that these feelings are part of the human experience. They welcome these emotions as guests, allowing themselves to fully feel, understand, and then gently let go. This emotional depth is what makes them strong. They are not afraid to be vulnerable, because they know that true strength includes the courage to face the parts of ourselves that are fragile and imperfect. They do not hide behind masks or pretend to be invincible. Instead, they embrace their whole selves with kindness. When we think of someone who prefers to be alone, we might imagine someone cold or distant. But this is far from the truth. The strongest people often have the deepest wells of love and compassion. Their solitude is a place where they nourish this love, so that when they are with others, they can share it fully and freely. They have learned that being alone is not separation from others, but connection to oneself. In this connection, they find the strength to be patient, to forgive, and to understand, not only themselves but those around them. They become like the ocean, sometimes quiet and calm, sometimes powerful and deep. In solitude, they practice self-care in the most profound way. They listen to their bodies and minds, respecting their limits without judgment. They honor their need for rest and reflection. This care allows their strength to grow not just outwardly, but inwardly as well. It is also important to understand that their preference for solitude does not mean rejection of others. Rather, it is a choice to be selective about their company. They value quality over quantity. They surround themselves with people who truly understand and respect their need for space. This selectiveness is not selfishness. It is wisdom. Just as a gardener prunes a tree to help it grow stronger, the strongest people prune their social connections to protect their peace and energy. They understand that true relationships are based on mutual respect, not constant presence. In Buddhist philosophy, attachment is seen as a source of suffering. The strongest people have learned to let go of unhealthy attachments, to people, to ideas, to outcomes. This letting go frees them to live with a light heart and a clear mind. It allows them to be fully present, whether alone or with others. This freedom from attachment is not about isolation. It is about choice. They choose solitude because it nourishes their spirit and helps them grow. They choose to be with others when it is right for them, not out of need, but out of genuine connection and love. Their lives often reflect a deep balance between being alone and being together. They know that both solitude and community are necessary parts of the human journey. They embrace solitude as a time to heal and grow, and they embrace community as a place to share and celebrate. This balance is a dance, sometimes moving towards stillness, sometimes reaching out. In this dance, the strongest find harmony and peace. They do not rush to fill silence with noise. Instead, they honor silence as a sacred space where the heart can speak. The strength that comes from solitude is not loud or showy. It is like the roots of a tree, hidden beneath the surface, but holding everything steady. It is the strength to be true to oneself, to accept life's challenges with grace, and to walk a path of compassion. When you see someone who prefers to be alone, do not mistake their quiet for weakness. Know that they may be walking a path of great courage and deep wisdom. They have found a way to stand firm in the storms of life, rooted in their own truth. This kind of strength is rare and precious. It shines quietly, but its light can guide many. It teaches us that sometimes the greatest power lies not in what we do or say, but in simply being present, being whole, and being true. So, when you find yourself drawn to moments of solitude, remember the tree on the mountain and the still pond in the forest. These are the places where strength grows, where the heart learns to be gentle yet firm, and where the spirit finds its home. The strongest people prefer to be alone, not because they are broken or sad, but because in solitude they find the depth and peace that allow them to live fully and love deeply. Imagine, for a moment, a quiet lake at dawn. The water is still, reflecting the soft colors of the sky. There is no rush, no noise, only calm. In this calmness, everything appears clear. The trees, the sky, even your own reflection seem more real than ever. This is the gift of solitude, the gift of being truly with yourself. The strongest people understand this gift deeply. They know that strength does not always roar. Sometimes strength is the gentle whisper of silence. It is the peaceful lake within us, undisturbed by the storms of life. When you sit quietly with yourself, without distraction, you find a strength no one can take away. Many people fear being alone. They think it means loneliness or sadness. But there is a difference, a very important difference, between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness, of missing something. But being alone is simply being present with yourself. It is an opportunity to look inside, to learn, to grow. In the teachings of the Buddha, we learn that all things change. Life flows like a river. People come and go. Situations rise and fall. The strong person knows this truth well. They do not cling to others or to the noise of the world. Instead, they turn inward. They find a quiet place inside where nothing ever changes, the place of true peace. This peace is not found by filling the silence with words or distractions. It is found by embracing the silence itself. It is in this silence that the mind becomes clear. The heart softens. The soul breathes freely. This is why the strongest people often prefer to be alone. They are not avoiding the world, but stepping into the world within. Being alone allows the strongest people to rest, to heal, to see clearly what really matters. When they're not distracted by others' expectations or demands, they can listen to their own wisdom. They can understand what truly brings happiness, what brings peace. This understanding is a precious gift. In today's busy world, many forget this simple truth. We fill our lives with noise, with endless talking, with constant movement. We fear silence because it feels like emptiness. But emptiness is not something to fear. It is a space where new life begins, where true strength grows. Think of a tree standing tall in a field. It grows strong roots deep into the earth. It stands alone, but is not lonely. It is nourished by the soil, by the sun, and by the quiet around it. In the same way, the strongest people root themselves in solitude. They drink from the deep well of their own spirit. This rooting is what gives them resilience. When storms come, when challenges appear, they do not break easily, because they have found strength inside themselves. They do not depend on others for their peace or happiness. They carry it with them wherever they go. Solitude is not about being isolated or disconnected. It is about connection to your true self. When you are alone and peaceful, you can better understand others. You can offer kindness and love without losing yourself. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Compassion flows best from a calm and steady mind. In the quiet, the strongest people practice mindfulness. They watch their thoughts, their feelings, without judgment. They learn to let go of what does not serve them. They practice patience with themselves and with the world. This is the practice of being fully present. You do not need to be famous or rich to be strong. True strength is simple. It is the courage to be yourself, even when that means being alone. It is the courage to face your own mind with honesty and kindness. This courage grows like a flame in the darkness, lighting the way forward. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." This teaching is at the heart of why the strongest people prefer solitude. They do not seek peace from others or from the outside world. They cultivate peace within themselves through quiet reflection and deep understanding. Sometimes being alone can be difficult. Old fears, old pain may rise. But this is part of the journey. The strongest people do not run away from these feelings. They face them bravely, knowing that healing happens in the stillness. Each moment alone is a chance to release what no longer serves you. When you embrace solitude with an open heart, you begin to see life differently. You see that you are not separate from the world. You are connected to everything, yet you are complete by yourself. This is the balance that brings freedom. Imagine now the strongest people you know. Perhaps they're quiet, thoughtful, not often in the spotlight. Maybe they choose to be by themselves more than others. This is not because they do not care. It is because they care deeply for themselves and for the world. They know that only by being whole inside can they truly give to others. So, to those who feel the call of solitude, do not fear it. Do not rush to fill the silence. Instead, welcome it as a friend. Sit with it. Listen to what it teaches you. You may find, as the strongest people do, that in being alone you become more alive than ever before. This series has been a journey, one that unfolds the quiet power of solitude through the wisdom of Buddhism. We have seen how being alone is not weakness, but strength. We have learned that silence holds deep answers, and we have discovered that the path to peace begins inside each of us. Thank you for walking this path with wisdom woven. If these words have touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these teachings. And please, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your stories and reflections create a beautiful community of seekers walking together. Remember, strength is not always loud. Sometimes, strength is the quiet lake reflecting the sky. It is the calm in the storm, the peace in the chaos. It is the courage to be alone, and in that aloneness, to be fully free. May your journey be peaceful. May your heart be steady. And may you always find strength in the quiet moments with yourself. Namaste. The meeting beyond words. A final reflection from the Zen master. Come, sit with me for a while. No rush, no noise, just presence. You've walked far to reach this place, not with your feet, but with your heart. Along the path, you've carried joys, wounds, hopes, and questions. And now, as we sit here together in stillness, I ask you not to seek more answers, but to feel what has already bloomed within you. Let us talk not with clever words, but with simple truths, like water flowing quietly over stone. You have seen, through our journey, that people do not simply pass through your life by mistake. They arrive when the soil of your life is ready, sometimes soft and fertile, sometimes dry and cracked, but always prepared for the seed they bring. Some brought flowers, others thorns. Some came gently like spring wind, others stormed in like summer rain. But all of them, were sent to help you grow. And growth is rarely easy. It asks you to stretch, to bend, to sometimes break. But even when you broke, even when you fell to the earth in pain, you were becoming more whole than before. Like a broken bowl mended with gold, your cracks now shine with wisdom. You may look back and say, I wish that person never entered my life. And yet, if you look again with calm eyes, you may whisper instead, they came to teach me something I didn't know I needed. In Zen, we say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But this teacher does not always come with robes and kindness. Sometimes the teacher comes with a sharp tongue, a cold goodbye, or a closed door. Yet still it is teaching. Still it is grace. There is no punishment here, no reward, just causes ripening into conditions. Karma is not judgment. It is a mirror. It simply reflects what has been planted long ago. What comes into your life now is the fruit of seeds planted perhaps even before memory. So when someone enters your life, look at them not with fear, or need, or longing, but with awareness. Ask not, will they stay, but rather, why are they here now? The wise do not chase relationships, nor do they run from them. They observe, they feel, they engage with presence and peace. They allow people to come and allow them to go. And in every encounter, they ask, what am I being shown? Many people carry regrets about who they trusted, who they loved, who they let go. But I tell you this, if you acted with sincerity, there is no need for regret. If your heart was open, even if the other walked away, the path was still sacred. You see, not every soul is meant to stay. Some are like lanterns that light the way for just a few steps. Others are like stones across a river. You need them only once to cross. And a few, very few, are like temples, always there for you to return. But all of them matter. All of them are part of your path. In my years as a Zen master, I have sat with monks who lost their parents, travelers who lost their way, and lovers who lost each other. And each time, I told them the same thing. Nothing is truly lost. It has only returned to the source. When someone leaves your life, you may cry. That is natural. Do not hold back your tears. But also smile, because they brought you a gift, even if it was hidden inside pain. Pain, too, is a teacher. It softens you, humbles you, opens you to deeper truths. There was once a student who asked me, Master, when will I stop meeting the wrong people? I smiled and replied, when you stop labeling them as wrong. In Buddhism, there are no wrong people, only right timing and a right lesson. So hold no hatred in your heart. Resentment is a heavy bag that slows your steps. Let go. Forgive. Not for them, but for your own peace. You are not meant to carry every person forever. You are meant to carry only what brings light to your spirit. If someone caused harm, learn from it. Grow wiser, but not colder. Become kinder, not bitter. That is strength, the strength of the awakened heart. And remember this, just as others enter your life for a reason, you enter theirs too. You may not know what lesson you bring, but trust that your presence matters. A single word from you may change someone's entire life. A kind smile, a moment of honesty, a gesture of compassion. These small things become mountains in someone else's heart. Never underestimate the power of your soul's quiet work. The world is noisy. It will try to tell you that love must be loud, that success must be visible, that value must be measured. But true wisdom is quiet. It lives in your choices, in your awareness, in your ability to meet each person with presence. If you've come this far in our journey, you are already awakening. You have begun to see life through a softer lens. You no longer ask, why did they hurt me? But instead, what wound did they reveal? This shift in view is the start of freedom. And now, as our time together ends, I ask you to remember this. Your life is sacred. Not because it is perfect, but because it is real. It is raw. It is human. And each person you meet is a chapter in your sacred book. Write with grace. Speak it with love. Live it with awareness. Thank you for walking this path with me. Thank you for trusting in this journey. Thank you for choosing to see the world not as a series of random events, but as a carefully woven tapestry, each thread guided by wisdom beyond words. Before you go, if these teachings have touched your heart, I gently ask, please like this video, share it with those who walk beside you, comment your honest thoughts below, and subscribe to our channel, Wisdom Woven. Your voice is part of this journey. You are not alone. I will meet you again, in silence, in thought, or in the next breath. Until then, walk gently, love deeply, let go freely. The people who are meant to find you already have, and those who are meant to come will arrive right on time.